Vice President Pence cast a tie-breaking vote late Tuesday to block new regulations allowing U.S. consumers to sue their banks, handing Wall Street and other big financial institutions their biggest victory since President Trump's election. The rules would have cost the industry billions of dollars, according to some estimates. With the Senate's vote, Wall Street is beginning to reap the benefits of the Trump administration focus on rolling back regulations it says are strangling the economy. The vote is also a major rebuke of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which wrote the rules and has often found itself at odds with Republicans in Congress and the business community. At issue is the fine print in many of the agreements that consumers sign when they apply for credit cards or bank accounts. These agreements typically require them to settle any disputes they have with the company through arbitration, in which a third party rules on the matter, rather than going to court or joining a class action lawsuit. The CFPB rule would block mandatory arbitration clauses in some cases, potentially allowing millions of Americans to file or join a lawsuit to press their complaints. After more than 4 hours of debate, the Senate voted 51-50 to block its implementation. Pence cast the final regular vote in favor of the measure shortly after 10 p.m. House Republicans already passed legislation to block the rule, which now needs the approval of President Trump. Tonight's vote is a giant setback for every consumer in this country. Wall Street won and ordinary people lost, CFPB Director Richard Cordray said in a statement minutes after the vote. The legislation preserves a two-tier justice system, where banks can have their day in court but deny their customers the same right. The measure was widely loathed on Wall Street and among Republicans in Congress, who called it a gift to plaintiffs' attorneys. Critics argued the rule would trigger a flood of frivolous lawsuits and drive up credit card rates. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and several other business groups filed suit last month to block its implementation. Today's vote puts consumers first, rather than class action lawyers, said Rob Nichols, president of the American Bankers Association. The Credit Union National Association said the rule was just the latest example of the one-size-fits-all rulemaking coming from the CFPB, and thankfully Congress acted to remedy the situation. Proponents of the measure have dismissed such complaints. Class action lawsuits are a public way to force companies to change questionable business practices that would otherwise receive little attention. They also allow large groups of people to seek small amounts of money they individually wouldn't have the time or money to pursue, supporters of the rule say. To gain support for the legislation, Republicans in the Senate had to overcome a populist campaign led by Democrats and consumer groups linking the rule to the backlash against two big and unpopular financial firms, Wells Fargo and Equifax. Wells Fargo has been under pressure since admitting last year that employees had opened millions of sham accounts customers didn't ask for, and Equifax is struggling to recover from a massive hack that affected more than 145 million people. Consumer groups have used both cases as a rallying cry against arbitration clauses, which Wells Fargo and Equifax both use.